First off, you know I had to shampoo and condition my girl. I am a stylist that likes to shampoo and condition. It comes with every single service that I offer. I don't know if it's the fact that I'm a licensed cosmetologist and I just understand the importance of thoroughly cleansing and conditioning the scalp and hair. But one thing about me, I'm always going to shampoo and condition some hair, especially when it comes to a long term type of style. You want to make sure that your hair is very clean before you just put it away. So I'm using my Dyson blow dryer and I just want to know, has anybody experienced any issues with this hair dryer? After having mine for a few months, it just completely died on me and now I can't even use it on its highest setting. And I'm just like, for a blow dryer to be so expensive, it shouldn't be giving me any issues. For this look, I am doing a middle part. So I like to part where my client's part is going to be for the style. And then on both sides of that part, I section off for my leave out. This helps to make sure that my leave out is proportionate on both sides of the part. Now, a pro tip that you could use when parting out your leave out is taking a rat tail comb and placing it where your top track would be. If you could see the tail of that comb underneath your leave out, that means you would be able to see a track. So, if that's the case, you need to part out more hair for your leave out. Now, I went ahead and I sectioned off some of her hair around her edges. We want to make sure that we are not putting anything right on her edges. We want to preserve them. So I'm just parting those out, and then I repeat the same thing on both sides. I like to braid the hair down for my leave out because I just like it to be completely out of the way. I've seen some people just wrap it up and clip it. Later in the process, that could be, not as secure and you don't want to mess yourself up. So just braid it down. All right, and that's what we have out around her parting and her edges. So as we get into her braid down, I just want to reiterate the fact that this is a quick weave and it is called a quick weave for a reason. It is supposed to be a faster alternative to a sew-in. So when we're doing our braids, we don't have to do a braid down like a sew-in, okay? I feel like back in the day, I remember seeing quick weaves done and that hair was just slicked back into a ponytail. There weren't any braids at all. So that's just something to be mindful of. You could definitely get a nice secure foundation without doing a bunch of small braids. I believe on this client, I did 3 or 4 braids on each side. And another thing to note is if your client has extremely dense hair, like really, really thick and full, you may have to do smaller braids so that her foundation lays flatter. But for the most part, you could definitely get away with only doing a few braids. So when I get back around the nape of the neck, I want you all to notice that I am parting out what some would call the kitchen. Those hairs could be very uncomfortable when slicked up into a quick weave, so I just like to take it out for my client's comfort. It's also helpful when the wind blows a little bit and you can see the back of the client's neck and you see some hair back there. Okay, we don't want to see a net, we don't want to see tracks, we want to see hair. So that's another reason why I like to leave that hair out. When I'm braiding, I find that the easiest way for me to get the foundation flat is to incorporate my previous braid into my current braid. So as you can see, I take the end of the braid I just finished braiding and I flipped it up into the braid I'm currently working on. And then I just continue to braid that all the way down. Now I repeat the process and I braided the other side of her head. And then we move on to oiling her scalp down. I also did apply some leave-in conditioner to her hair before I actually braided it down. And then I feel that the oil helps with itchiness and provides some extra nourishment. I actually did make this oil myself. All right, so now we're getting into the fun part. Now, these steps here are the most important to make sure you have a solid foundation and you're properly protecting your client's hair. I apply one wig cap and then I'm going in with a Salon Pro Weave Wonder Wrap. I've also used the Robert Diamond's Protective Shields. I love them both equally. It really just depends on whatever I have in the salon at the moment. I am using an applicator brush to apply this. I've seen people use their fingers or combs. In my opinion, an applicator brush just allows you to be more precise, neater, and cleaner. So I just go around everywhere where my client's hair is braided. I definitely make sure that I have a lot of product all around her perimeter. And I just go in, I go hand with this product and make sure everything is covered, because this shield is what protects your client's hair from that glue. So it's really important to take your time and just make sure that the entire perimeter, as well as everything in between, is thoroughly saturated with this product. I like to use a second cap as an extra layer of protection. After I apply that cap, I go in and I press firmly against it to make sure that it is adhering to that first cap. You can kind of see that protective shield that is poking through. That's good. That's what we want. And then I go in and I spritz around the perimeter just to make sure that as this dries under the dryer, my perimeter is going to be nice, secure, and intact. So I let my client sit under the dryer for about 10 to 15 minutes. You'll know when the cap is dry because when you touch it, it won't be wet anymore. And then I just go through and I cut that excess cap all the way around. Now, if you applied your base correctly, that cap should be secure after you cut the excess. Before we even get into gluing any tracks, I like to go in and press the hair that is left out around the perimeter. So not her leave out, but the hair in the nape of her neck, and then also her edges. I like to do this first because after you start gluing those tracks down, it's going to be a little bit more difficult to press these edges thoroughly when you got tracks all in the way. So just go in and do this part first before you start to glue your tracks. Now I like to use a wax around the edges and the nape to help press the hair out. It's just like back in the day when people use a pressing grease or a pressing cream, pressing balm. It kind of works the same. I find that it lays the hair down really, really nicely, gives it a nice sheen. Alright, so now I'm moving on to gluing the tracks down. Usually I would double the wefts because most of my clients get 3 to 4 bundles installed for a quick weave. However, for this particular look, we only used 2. I believe I doubled that very first track, but all of the rest of the tracks were single. Once I get to the top of the ear, I like to curve the next track all the way up to where the leave out is. Now I do this so that the hair falls into the client's face. We all like it to look really, really full around the face. And so by curving it up, we make sure it falls forward. And then also it helps to blend the leave out better when the tracks are, curved up. It's minimizing that gap between the leave out and the tracks. I also like to spray some spritz around the base of my tracks. I do this every couple of tracks, especially around the longer ones or the ones that are around the hairline, just for an extra measure of protection. As that spritz dries, it'll kind of harden and adhere everything together. Because I've been curving those tracks up towards her face, once I turn her to the side, you'll be able to see how that spacing looks. It's pretty full closer to the front of her leave out, and then I still have kind of a large gap that still needs to be filled in the back. Boom, there it is. So now I'm just going to work on filling in that back and connecting it with those front pieces. All right, so now we have moved on to the very last track. Now a pro tip, when you get to your very last bundle, measure out your leave out because you always want to make sure you have enough hair to lay at that top track. If you need to pull from the bottom to fill in, somewhere else you can, but it's important that you have a track that is long enough to completely and fully cover your leave out. So now we're going to move on to the cut and the style. I'm first giving her a blunt cut, and then I like to point cut the ends just to give the hair a little bit more movement. I'm doing some slight face framing, nothing major like I usually would with a longer install, and then just some light layering around the entire perimeter of her head. When I do my clients leave out, I like to use a hot comb and my flat iron. Now, I did use a heat protectant spray before I blow dried her hair. I do go in with a heat protective serum before I press the hair, and I just apply that on my client's leave out. I pressed the other side of my client's hair. Now we are going to get into styling. Before I curl any of my sections, I do like to spray the Sebastian Shaper Plus spray. I'm curling each section up, and then I'm pinning it with a pin until it cools so it gets set. Now for this style, because we want the curls at the end, I don't bring the barrel of my iron all the way up towards the scalp. I'm just curling from about mids to ends. Now once I get right around her face, I do just curl away from her face like I normally would. I don't curl up. I just curl back going away from her face. And you'll see that in just a second. That very top piece, I'm also curling it back and away from her face, just like a normal curl. We're not curling up. And this is going to allow the curl to fall and frame the face like we want. And I'm also going in and pinning that. So now I'm going to just show you all a closer view of how your curl should look. I'm curling upwards from the mids to ends, and then I'm going ahead and setting that with a pin so the curl can set. Now, once all your curls are in, you want to make sure that you wait for the hair to completely cool down before taking your clips out. The whole point of pinning up the hair is so that it can set, and it's not set until the curls completely cool. So I went in, let the hair cool, and now I'm just going in and I'm combing her hair up. I don't really have to do too much because we already curled the hair going up, but I'm just taking my comb and I'm combing the hair up so it can really get the shape that we want. And that's pretty much it. You just got to style and lay the hair exactly how you like it. Finish it off with a little finishing spray, and that is it. Now for this style, I am using my Vietnamese body wave bundles. We only use 2 bundles in length 14 and 16. Right here, you can really see how curling those front pieces like a normal curl really helps to frame the face. You have that bang that's hugging right above her eye, and then it curls out perfectly right about her cheek area. And this is the finished look. I really enjoyed doing this style. I want to make more videos like this, so just let me know what you all think, what kind of videos you all want to see, what kind of styles. At this point, I couldn't stop playing in the hair because I was just in love. My client and I both were completely obsessed. Do y'all get annoyed when your hair appointment is over and your stylist just keeps playing in your hair? If you're a client of mine, I am sorry in advance.